Hi, Arrow.
Hello and good morning, Doctor. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So many generations have always known King Tut as King Tut, but in your documentary, we're going a completely different direction. We get the full name. How do you pronounce it?
I pronounce it Tutankhamun.
Ooh, there's a rhythm to that. No wonder he was king. He was, right there. There's a melody. There's harmony.
Yes, I think so too.
One of the things that has always been the mystery or the mystique of King Tut is that we've always focused on the treasure, but we don't know the story. And that has become your goal, your quest.
Exactly. This year marks the centennial of the discovery of his tomb. His tomb was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922. And all the documentaries talk about the treasure, how he died, things like that. But there are so many things that we don't really know about Tutankhamun, and this documentary tries to explore all the different theories about his life and legacy.
Where do you find information like this? I mean, because it's not just laying out there in some library. I mean, you did some really hardcore, investigative reporting on this.
Yes, we spoke to many scholars who are specialized in Tutankhamun. Of course, Tutankhamun is studied from very different angles. So, art historically, people study his tomb and the goods that were buried with him from an art historical perspective, and try to analyze what was found in there, who it originally belonged to, because there are theories that a lot of the material found in his tomb did not originally belong to him. There's also people study his mummy. So we have a physician, Dr. Sahar Salim, who's studying his human remains. There are textual studies, so the texts and the artifacts that have text written on them that tell us information also about his time period.
I love
and
how,
the people who were associated with him and what was found, what artifacts and historical documents we have from them.
See, that's the part of the journey that a lot of us don't know. It's almost like we've read the book cover, but we've never heard the story until you have teamed up with PBS, and now we're going to go diving deep into this story to get a better picture.
Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy about that.
How long was the physical process? Because this is something that didn't happen overnight. You really put a lot of energy into this.
Yes, no, it was a very long process. So I think the first time I was approached to be involved in this documentary was about 2 years ago, and we were still discussing it as a story, and it was just an idea, and we were brainstorming together. But then the process of actually filming took 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But,
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That.
Yes, we moved around a lot.
Okay.
And spoke to many scholars.
Wow. And you know what's really interesting here is you had part of that filming in those 2 weeks is that you had an Egyptian crew. I mean, you went authentic all the way.
Yes, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that this documentary has an entirely Egyptian crew.
When you discover the hidden story, it's a gem before it becomes a gem to us. In other words, you experience the oh wow factor long before we do. What were some of the things that you really did experience and that we're about to find out on PBS?
Well, for me, because as an Egyptologist, I have read a lot about Tutankhamun and the different theories about his life and death. But what was different for me as an Egyptologist was experiencing Tutankhamun as a human being. As scholars, we shy away from the unknown, so we cannot prove how Tutankhamun would have felt as a result of all the events that happened during his reign or during his life. But this is something that we try to explore through the documentary. We imagined how the events of his time would have affected him as a person. And that, to me, was very enlightening. and exciting at the same time.
Were they simpler times? I mean, look at today's world, and with technology as well as with political ego and stuff like that. Was he living in simpler times, or was it just as power controlled?
I wouldn't say they were simpler times. They were different times.
Yeah.
Things were complicated during his reign. He died very young, at a very young age. He ascended the throne when he was about 9 years old. So he probably wasn't the one actually ruling. There were other people ruling on his behalf. And this is something that people don't realize, the non-Egyptologists, I mean. They think of Tutankhamun as this important king, but he really wasn't. The reason why he's so well known is that his tomb was the only one to be found intact in the Valley of the Kings.
You talk of him being in power at the age of 9, and right away I start thinking about Queen Elizabeth, who was still a teen as well. What about the kings and queens that have always made the history books and things like this? Why King Tut? Why is that one the one that is spoken so often in so many lives?
There are many reasons. I think one of the reasons is, as I said, that his tomb was found intact, and the timing of the discovery. It was in 1922. There was another burial that was found intact, but that was at the beginning of World War II, and it did not receive much attention. It wasn't found in the Valley of the Kings. It was in Tanis. But the timing was right. It received a lot of media attention. There were many myths or urban legends woven around it, like the curse of Tutankhamun, and that people associated with the discovery died right after the tomb was discovered, things like that made Tutankhamun a very iconic figure.
How do you feel about releasing some of the family secrets, or just the secrets of the story and stuff? Because, I mean, first of all, I'm fascinated with this. This is my kind of PBS, and this is the kind of stuff that creates conversations. But we're going to see a different side of this story. I mean, if anything, it's going to enhance the man.
Of course it will. And, I'm sure Tutankhamun would be happy, because for the ancient Egyptians, it was very important for their name to be repeated and remembered. And the fact that we're still talking about Tutankhamun would probably mean a lot to him.
Yeah. Now, you know how we are. We're going to watch the documentary, and we're going to want more. Where can we go to get more of this information? Because, I mean, you're with PBS, and you talk about a group of people that are constantly connected with the rest of the world.
To get more information about Tutankhamun, there are many publications about him. A lot of information can be found online, but it has to be from a credible source. And I'm sure more and more documentaries will be made. But for me, it's not only Tutankhamun. I think it's important to know about other figures from ancient Egyptian history and how they lived. And this will also give us more information about probably how Tutankhamun lived himself. So I think it's not just about Tutankhamun, it's about all of Egyptian history.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because so many people are lost in history because they won't speak the history, and we have people like yourself that are saying, look, there's a lot more out there. We've got to start talking about it.
Exactly. And talk about it, because I think the problem is that many people assume that the public won't be interested except when there's gold and, mystery, and only Tutankhamun is, people keep making documentaries about him. He's fascinating, and I think the way this documentary is handled is very exciting, because it sheds light on things that other documentaries don't really discuss. So that's what I really like about this one. And also, the way the ancient Egyptians lived, the average Egyptian, that's also something important to discuss. Absolutely. And it's also, if people are interested in Tutankhamun, they'll learn more about him, because they'll imagine what was going on in Egypt during his reign.
Right. Please come back to this show anytime in the future, Doctor. The door is always going to be open for you. This can always be that place where we can talk about history.
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be with you here today.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you. You too.